Go.
Oh. I can see you, Nick.
I'm here.
Hi, I'm Haroulla, and I did an internship with Amicus at the Center of Equal Justice with Nick. And Nick?
I'm Nick Trenticosta. I was one of Andrew Lee Jones's last attorneys.
Okay, so we're going to have a bit of a chat with Nick about the internship and Amicus in general. So, Nick, do you want to just maybe tell us a little bit about how Amicus got started? Because you are part of that.
Well, I played a small part to the extent that certainly Jane Officer played a bigger role than I. The story is that when Andrew Lee Jones had what was probably going to be his final warrant of execution, and we learned about Jane, we called her up and asked her if she could come to support him because they had become friends through the mail. And we wanted her to support him, to visit with him and be with him, but also to testify at the pardon board. So here in Louisiana, there's a pardon board who can recommend to the governor to commute someone's sentence from death to life. And that was our last hope. So Jane came and testified at that. And after the night of his execution, Jane was certainly touched by what we were all experiencing and went back to the UK and started the charity Andrew Lee Jones Fund, which have changed its name to Amicus. But that experience with those two human beings created opportunities for many young lawyers and persons against the death penalty in England and beyond. But those who to come here to try to save people's lives. I know it had an impact on the individual interns, but I also know it was an incredible impact on the clients that people were working on. I'm sorry that it's been 30 years and we still need Amicus, but at the same time, I'm so glad to be a part of it.
For sure, I think it is definitely a life-changing experience, both for, well, especially for interns. Me as an intern, having come and worked with you guys, it's completely shaped me as a person, because I was looking back and I came in 2012. So it's nearly been 10 years now. And since then, it's like, it's such a big part of my life. It's such a big part of who I am, which is, it's just as an intern, that's just something that's completely shaped me as a lawyer, as a person, everything. I mean, what's your experience of like interns coming? How have you felt that that's kind of shaped your work?
Well, yeah, I mean, it not really shaped my work, but knowing that we could always reach out to Amicus in times of need and say, can you send some lawyers? We're really busy. And of course, the government is not paying us money to be really busy. We need some help. So, but certainly the scores of interns that I've had the pleasure of working with has I don't know what to say. It's immeasurable. I've met and become friends with so many wonderful people. including you.
Yeah. I mean, you and Susanna as well, who you work with, you've both just been such amazing role models. And coming to you guys as a lawyer, because I was already qualified when I came, you just gave me so much trust. There was just so many things that I could help with. The experience was even more than I had expected, really, to be honest. You were just, yeah, really, both really inspirational. And a lot of the things actually that at the time I was learning while working with you guys, it was only until I came back to England and I started noticing things that I was putting in place with my work and my clients that I learned from you guys. There was when I came back over here, I started training as a criminal lawyer, because before that I had never done criminal work before coming to you guys. And I went to the police station and I was dealing with a murder case, which was really unheard of because I was still quite junior in the criminal law scene, and there would be no way that anyone would have let me deal with that case. But because of my experience working with you guys, they kind of just trusted me. And a couple of things I remember, like, like a lot of the things that we talk about with the cases that we were dealing with together, about how the police acts a certain way, where they put the client in a kind of not so good position from the beginning. And I remember they were interviewing the client for 3 days. And after the 3 days, he was about to go to court, and suddenly they wanted to give him fresh clothing. They wanted to make him look really, really presentable, when for 3 days he looked like a complete, he was like a mentally unstable mess. But just before court, they wanted to make him look like he was completely dressed and clean and everything. And at the back of my mind, I'm like, no, he can change after the trial, after the hearing. Let's leave him looking how he's been looking for the past 3 days. Just because you can just see little things that they're trying to already plant the seed that someone is a certain way mentally. But yeah, just little things like that. The way that you and Susanna were working, and it's just really inspired me.
It's interesting you mentioned that in the conversation about Andrew Lee Jones, because when I took over his case, he had already been through all the courts. He had already had all his appeals. And it's very, very difficult to get the courthouse door open again. But when I started reading about his case and saw the terrible work his trial lawyers did, saw the terrible work all of his lawyers had done, and I realized it as a fact when I made a request for the jail medical records, that as soon as he was arrested through trial, no one had ever asked for those records. And the first night he was put in jail, he was diagnosed as psychotic. He was then given antipsychotic medication mixed with sleeping medication through his entire trial. His lawyer did not know it. Lawyer could have found out. But when you say they wanted a certain presentation,
yeah.
When I interviewed one of the jurors in the case, he said he acted like he didn't care. He never had any facial expressions.
I remember, I think you mentioned this to me a while back. Yeah.
That's what antipsychotic medication will do to someone who suffers from psychosis. And when I found those documents and ran into court saying, we got some problems here. The court said, you should have brought this to our attention years ago. You're too late. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I didn't realize. Obviously, at the time, I realized I was learning a lot, and a lot of the things that you guys were telling me, I was just completely fascinated, shocked, appalled by things I was hearing. But it wasn't until I came back and then I was working on cases that I realized actually I can stop this from happening. Obviously, at a different scale because there's no death penalty in the UK, but yeah, just how invaluable those kind of skills were without me even realizing I was absorbing them.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, I can't even emphasize enough how much you guys have inspired me, ruined me for life. I will never find any other lawyer as fascinating as you two. Yeah, I was just going to ask you as well, like, what do you feel like Amicus means to you, like personally?
You know, how can I put it? I'm very, very touched because early on in death penalty work in the United States, we were despised. We were small in numbers, and it was difficult. You know, I was in a court one day. My client had an execution warrant, and I had to bring some papers to the judge. I handed them to the clerk, and the clerk said, "I wish they would put you in his lap when he's executed." You know, and so I don't get bullied around, but at the same time, it's like, can somebody pat me on the back or something? And Amicus has done that. It's like I know that there's a large network of support in Amicus, and it is vast. It has grown to be vast.
Mm.
But the times that Susanna and I were able to come to England to do trainings or to give lectures to schools, it's just overwhelmingly joyful because now I'm being comforted by a lot of people, you know. So
Yeah, I think that's another thing I kind of noticed that was very different to what I had experienced in the UK, working with people that actually care about the work that they do, because there's a difference between just having a client and they're your client. But I felt with both you and Susanna, you genuinely care about your work. It's such a big part of you, and even when you're in court and I hear you speak, I can feel the emotion behind those words, and that's very rare. That's a really rare quality. That's something I had never really encountered before, because when I was at uni, the reason I wanted to become a lawyer, you both just embodied all the reasons why I wanted to go into this type of work, like to become a lawyer, to be around people that actually care about what they do, about the work they do. It's important to them. And I remember when I came back to the UK, I was a little bit disappointed because one of my colleagues when I was working said to me, "Oh, your problem is you just care too much. You just need to get over it. Like, just do the work, and you just care too much." And I just felt really appalled after being with you guys and seeing how much you guys cared about your work and everything. I said, "Well, no, I shouldn't be doing this work if I don't care." But yeah, that's definitely something that stuck with me, just seeing the passion that you both have for this type of work. And because I think a lot of the type of work as well is emotionally supporting the client as well, because you're with them for such a long journey, and there's a lot of kind of emotional support in that as well.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten a lot of support from my clients.
Yeah.
But the way right now I'm doing some non-death penalty cases because the death penalty is dying in Louisiana, which, is a very good thing. I started this job to work myself out of a job. But I say that because representing persons for drug charges, I am their protector. No one else in the whole process is protecting them. Not the judge, not the prosecutor, not the police. So, you know, it's an honor. It's an absolute honor to have the ability to act to protect someone.
Yeah.
Certainly, in the cases that I have had, like Andrew Lee Jones, where it ended really, really badly. Either I wasn't able to convince the courts, or the law is so screwed up. You know, like the story I just told. The court didn't want to look at the issue that he was being medicated without his lawyer's knowledge. They didn't want to look at it. We never got a ruling on it. You know, anyway.
Yeah, I think that sometimes that's like the frustrating thing, the fact that despite sometimes the setbacks or the system, that you both just have kept going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Andrew told me on the last night of his life, please don't stop. Too many people need us, need you, but you know, need people like Amicus volunteers to protect them. Please don't stop. You know, I mean, it was very heartfelt in the sense that I was not going to witness his execution. And I have told clients, it's not happening. I will make sure there's an advocate for you, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't want that experience. It may be harder for me the next day. And yeah. I just don't want to be in that spot. And he just said, promise me you will keep working. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I think as well, that's another thing that really kind of shocked me, like on paper, before I came, just the expectation of what I thought it was going to be like versus what it was like just visiting the prison, visiting the clients, what in your head you think the clients are going to be like versus what they were actually like. And a lot of the times when I talk to people about my experience, they're like, oh, but what were they like? And I'm like, well, actually they were quite inspirational, and having these conversations with people in that situation, it really makes you put your whole life in perspective. Things that you thought were important are not as important as you thought they were, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that I mean, it's just completely just changed the way I think and the way I am as a person. And yeah, it's been crazy few years because I've been focusing on young children now, but yeah, I definitely I would be back in a heartbeat. I mean, I struggled to leave you guys, you know that.
I know.
It was a bit hit and miss. I nearly stayed forever. What was I going to ask? Oh yeah, I was going to ask, what do you think Amicus means just generally for the death penalty work?
Well, it's a very, very important part of the movement. The reason why executions are down in the United States, the reasons why death penalty trials are not happening like they used to happen, is because Amicus is part of a worldwide movement that has helped that along. You know, to the extent Amicus volunteers, including yourself, helped us win cases. When we win cases, the prosecution may then say, I don't want to deal with this. I keep losing against you people.
Yeah.
And that certainly, that's what's happened in Louisiana. Prosecutors are not trying cases for the death penalty because they probably will lose if they come up against a good team that has a bunch of Amicus volunteers behind it. You're probably going to lose, so you might as well say no now.
Ron, Nick is coming.
No, but it in my opinion, Amicus is helping to kill the death penalty. That's all I can say. World, on as a concept. I know individual cases, but it has that importance.
For sure. I think in the UK as well, it's really kind of bringing to the forefront a lot of issues that maybe aren't known or aren't widely known in the UK unless you're involved in this type of work or know someone that is involved in this type of work. People just assume these are things that they just watch in films, and they don't realize that it's reality. I mean, I know, even though I obviously did research and was passionate about it before I came, just the extent when you're actually there, the reality, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was like this. Even though you do have some understanding of what it's going to be like, but not to the same scale. Especially like, how racism plays such a big context in the cases. Again, in the UK, it's on a complete different scale that I wouldn't have even comprehended had I not been there, done that kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you get together with any Amicus volunteers these days? Do you keep in touch with people?
By email. Otherwise, I am terrorized by toddlers.
Oh, yeah.
I don't go out. I would love to go out when I have time. But yeah, no, I mean, one of the when I actually got my job as a criminal lawyer in the UK when I first came back, that was actually through another Amicus volunteer.
Okay.
She actually, I messaged her and we were friendly, and then she gave me some contacts of people she knew, and then that helped me get an interview, and so that's how I got that job when I started working in criminal law.
Well, we had a volunteer, her name is escaping me, but she now works for it's not called the Innocence Project, but it's an organization that tries to free innocent people. Suzanne, yeah. And I'm really delighted in that, because I don't know if she would have moved into that position had she not been a volunteer.
Yeah, she was a criminal lawyer before she came to you guys. Yeah, she was I think me and her crossed over a little bit as well. Yeah, which was nice. And another one of the volunteers, I went to her wedding as well. So I think it's like also just being in a completely different place with other interns and volunteers, you do form like a community, and like lifelong friendships, because you're kind of living with those people, working with those people, even if they don't work in the same offices as you. It's like a little microcosm, a micro UK in New Orleans.
Yeah, we're fortunate that there's a Capital Appeals Office, our office, the post-conviction office, and we're New Orleans. So I think a lot of volunteers were happy to get placed here.
Yeah, it's definitely an amazing place. I was there for a year, so I saw a lot of interns come and go. I was kind of like the welcome committee for each new batch. New Orleans is just an amazing place, and you and Susanna, you showed me everything. That you showed me New Orleans, the food, the music, everything. So yeah, it's a special place in my heart. Pardon? The real New Orleans. But is there anything that you want to ask me? I think, or have we covered everything?
I don't know. Nice to visit with you.
Yeah.
In a
Hopefully
while.
in person one day, again soon. Maybe for the 10-year anniversary of my internship.
Well, that's just next year.
Yeah.
With any luck, the pandemic will be over.
Oh, fingers crossed. How
But
has
you also, huh?
I was going to ask, how has the pandemic affected your work and access to the prisons and
Oh,
and
but first I'll say, when I started working 1 year after school here in Louisiana at the Loyola Death Penalty Resource Center, and then Amicus began. From the beginning of Amicus, we have never not had volunteers in our office. It's a lot of people. But when the pandemic hit, I'm sure no volunteers physically came to work, and it feels strange, because there's always somebody down the hall
yeah,
that I can, talk to and work something out with. But all the prisons shut down. I mean, death row, of course. You can do Zoom, but I haven't been to Angola in over a year.
Wow.
Which
that was such a big part of what we did. That was such a big part.
I probably went twice a month for 30 years.
Yeah.
Now, I won't know people when I get up there. But yeah, the jail shut down, the prison shut down, the court shut down. I had a Zoom hearing, and I learned that you can just wear half a uniform. So, Judge, please don't ask me to stand up. You're going to see my short pants, Let's see. In the past month, I've gone to court 3 times. That's the first time.
Physically, yeah. But there's been on Zoom.
Yeah. And I like the courtroom,
Yeah.
But, things might be getting back together unless the idiots around here keep saying they don't want vaccinations. I don't get it. I don't get it. As soon as they said these characteristics of a human being can be first in line for the vaccine, I called up. I said, I'm one of those people. I wasn't. Let me come in their office and stick me? I meet all the qualifications. Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely I feel like things have changed, but hopefully things will get back to normal.
So your courthouse is shut down, right?
Yeah, things are all online. I think they're starting to open up again, but they still want people to wear masks, and they have all the kind of divides and safeguards because they want the jurors to feel safe and all of that. Yeah, we'll see how it all goes.
We should.